Hey there folks, welcome back to Imagination Game. We tell stories to sprinkle a little wellness magic into your day. If you like our mission, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. A small like from you is a big step for us. Today we are concluding our beginner series. Find our previous episodes in the description box if you haven't watched them yet. Our series is story-based and we highly recommend you to go through the journey in sequence to connect the dots. For all others, find a cozy spot and let's begin. Close your eyes gently and let your mind take you back to the riverside from our last episode. After the day the big rock rolled by, it's been a while. You can barely see any trace of the rock as the river is now filled with life. Flowers blossoming and swaying in the wind, dragonflies hovering above the water. Simply be in this space of calmness and enjoy what you've created throughout this series. Observe the water ripples as the river flows quietly. A lot of times, our everyday emotions come from our interactions with other people. The famous psychologist Alfred Adler once said, "All worries are related to interpersonal relationship struggles." Think of how many of your everyday worries come from, "I don't want to look weird," or "I'm afraid how they will think about me." We are so used to letting other people's emotions affect our own, and our education rarely teaches the lesson of creating distance from other people's emotions. But the irony is, when you're being judged, the truth is probably you're living up to your principles. However, I know the fear of judgment and the worries are sometimes hard to deal with. So today, we will end the cycle and even eliminate a part of your everyday negativity. As you might recall from our previous episodes, those big aha moments usually come from a bit of struggle and reflection. Yes, they are really challenging, but we're in this together. What I'm about to share might feel a bit uncomfortable, but hang in there. I promise you have the strength to tackle this challenge as we've come so far together. I'd like you to shift your gaze upstream towards where these emotions come from. You'd probably imagine it's your annoying family member or your sworn enemy at work standing right there, stirring up all the trouble, but you don't see any of them. There is only one person there, and you see your own silhouette, splashing water and throwing rocks around. Wait, do you mean that I caused all these troubles? That I caused all these emotions? You might ask. This might sound a bit harsh, but short answer is yes. According to Alfred Adler's theories in the book, The Courage to Be Disliked. His theory stands that our emotions are created by ourselves. Although it might seem like other people trigger our emotions, we are responsible for how we react. To be honest, I was triggered by this concept at first too, but once I delved deeper, I began to understand. Acknowledging this responsibility can actually empower us to gain control over our emotions. We'll get into the details of Alfred Adler's theories in the future. If you're interested, comment down below. To fully grasp the idea of our lesson today, let's play an imagination game. We've practiced a neutral observation and acceptance of our reactions in the last episode. Now I'd like to invite you to be that neutral judge again. This time, instead of looking at yourself, try to shift the spotlight to the person who was hurting you or making you uncomfortable. Ask yourself, why is this person saying these stuff? They are bad people. Well, that's an easy answer, but let's step back and become neutral judges again. No judgment, only observations. You will find that most of the time, when people say you are weird, what they're actually saying is you are different. Often, the emotions beneath seemingly harsh words are fear, or self-doubt from their own past sufferings. You see, these words may actually be a reflection of the speaker's own insecurities. Lying beneath "you are weird" can be something like, "You are different and it makes me uncomfortable because I haven't seen anyone like you before." It's not about you being weird. It's about them feeling unfamiliar or threatened by what they don't understand yet. It's not about you. It's about them. When they say, "You're such a failure," they could actually be saying, "I feel like you're not living up to my expectations, and it's triggering my own insecurities about success and failure." The person saying this might be experiencing feelings of frustration or inadequacy. They could be projecting their own fears of failure onto you, or perhaps struggling with their own self-worth issues. It is not your problem when people attack you. Let me repeat, it is not about you. It's about their own insecurities. It's about them. It's not your fault. It's about them all along. You see, difficult people often make it seem like everything is your fault. But remember, we are all responsible for our own emotions. No one has the right to be rude or lash out at people. They could choose to communicate calmly, but they struggle to separate their emotions from the problem at hand. Sound familiar? They're stuck in unhealthy coping mechanisms, just like what we discussed in our last episode. And instead of focusing on problem solving, they let their emotions take over and create chaos. In other words, they are incapable to change their current coping mechanism of stress to healthier ones. And perhaps from time to time, you and I could lose it too. Just understand that we are all on our own journeys at different times and in different ways. So, love your enemy. And this doesn't mean you have to keep toxic people in your life, but it does mean you can choose to walk away because you understand your enemies better than them. The point here is to walk away from the emotions they are radiating towards you and leave their trash with them. By acknowledging that your emotions are your own responsibilities, and even if the person is lashing out at you, his or her anger cannot hurt you. You can understand and manage your reactions to interpersonal problems better. So, what is the one rule to rule it all? Remind yourself, it's not about me. They're talking about them. Shedding some light from Alfred Adler, a simple rule in dealing with those who are hard to get along with is to remember that this person is striving to assert his superiority, and you must deal with them from that point of view. We've talked so much about managing our own emotions and creating calmness throughout the series, but sometimes, because we are human, some emotions still get to us. And just know that this is so normal and common. So it's so important to assert these feelings to ourselves. Recognize and validate our own discomfort before anything else. This self-assertion will make our conversation more authentic and powerful. In real life, it's so important to create space from our own inner peace and from the outer world. Something like creating your own personal sanctuary can be a retreat. This sanctuary can be a physical space or a mental space to help you maintain emotional balance. It could be a cozy corner at your home or the riverside we've created during our journey together. Feel free to check out our other series for forest or beach practice for a variety of personal sanctuary choices. In our last stop today, we learned about separating our emotions from those of others. You see, emotions are contagious, so it's important to distinguish what others are radiating from our own inner peace. We remind ourselves that when people talk about us, they aren't necessarily talking about us. They may be talking about them. Understand that others' emotions aren't our business. We can move past feeling attacked. This helps us protect ourselves and let them be themselves. Now, in case you haven't noticed, we've come a long way. And the journey itself, especially if you've seen sparkles of changes in your life, is not particularly easy. I know I say this all the time, but we have upped our challenge in every episode. Congratulations to every one of you listening to this episode, and to every one of you who's made it so far. Sit back now and relax as we ride on a virtual ship to where we first began. From our first stop, we learned to create calmness within our mind. Then in our second stop, we learned to channel the calmness into an energy to regulate many more aspects of our life. We learned about the river emotions and naming our emotions to gain clarity on things. In our third stop, we rediscovered our inner strength by taking an imagination game through life obstacles. Later on, we learned to build our stress relief SOP to stay cool in difficult times. And finally today, we learned to separate our own business from others so that we clear out space for our own self-care practices. A bit of mindfulness about what we've overcome is so important, as reflections shape how we see the future. They essentially change our lives. Know one thing and gradually know 1,000 things. This is how we find our way in life. Leave a comment below to share your journey with us, and until our next series, take care and stay calm.